Hello everyone, welcome to our messy drawing session. This has been put together by a group of us from the Clean Change community, and today we have Jane,
Hi.
Wendy,
Sure.
Paul,
Hi.
Irene and Sally, and me of course, Nora. And there's a couple of people who are also part of the group, Matthew and Jen, and they can't be here today. So over the last 3 months, we've been exploring what happens when the client sketches very basic and imperfect messy drawings throughout a clean session. It could be some zigzaggy lines, a blobby person, a stick figure. The important thing is that there's something on the page that expresses, in whatever way, something meaningful for the client. Although drawing has always been a part of clean language processes, we think messy drawing is something new and exciting to add to clean language. We're very enthusiastic about messy drawing, and it's a work in progress. We're looking forward to sharing it with you today. We hope you will experience a new application of clean language that's very well suited to online sessions. Discover that you absolutely can draw and that your messiness is actually a strength, not a weakness. That you'll be inspired and have some practical experience that you can take into your coaching, facilitation or therapy work, and that you'll have some fun doing it. So here's what's going to be happening today in this interactive session. We'll give you a quick intro to messy drawing. Then there'll be a how to do basic drawing using Canva whiteboard. We'll be doing this activity together as a whole group. No prior knowledge is needed. You don't need to have a Canva account. No need to panic. It's all set up and ready to go. Thank you to Paul, who will explain the basics while we all do some scribbling on the whiteboard. After that, there'll be a short demo of messy drawing so you can see it in action. You'll see the simplicity of the drawing, no artistic skills required. Then it will be time to go into breakout rooms to try out messy drawing. We'll give you some basic clean language questions and some specific cleanish questions for messy drawing, and there will be assistants on hand to help you. We'll then all come back together for a debrief. We're interested in your experiences today, any questions you have, your thoughts about applications of messy drawing, or how you might take this further into your work or to use it for yourself. And finally, we hope you enjoyed today's little taste of messy drawing. If you do, there'll be more at the end of the session about how to sign up for a free messy drawing session we're planning so you can experience more of it. So let's start with our intro. Where has messy drawing come from? Judy Rees, who you just met in the big room, if you've not met her before, came across David Wood, who had met and learned from David Grove back in the 1990s. Yes, two Davids. So David Wood, a visual facilitator, spoke about messy visuals. Judy Rees then put this out into the clean community via a video of her conversation with David, and she called it messy drawing. There is a link to their interesting conversation in the Zoom chat. Thank you, Paul. Then one of our group, Sally, who's here today, serendipitously came across this conversation. Sally noticed how her grandson naturally added to a drawing as she asked him questions about it. She became excited about the possibilities for messy drawing in her work and explored the idea further using a Canva whiteboard. When Sally presented her ideas in the Clean Change community this summer, several of us got very excited about it, and it took off and the Messy Drawing Explorers group was born. So before we all get involved on Canva together, what does messy drawing look like? So on the screen now, you can see some drawings from recent practice sessions. Jane, would you like to talk about your 3 images on the top row?
Okay, so this started as a desire to be more accepting of my limitations. There were several images, some of which you can see on the top line. Image 1, the red, was me. The blue represented the flow. And that flow was this way or that in me, as seen by the arrows. That flow wasn't just in me, I was in that water, and I needed to let it take me where it needed to go. I could rely on that water. Image 2, the blue wiggly line, represented breath and groundedness. I needed to be in that flow. It all needed to work together. The lower part felt it's just easy, then breathe, then stillness. It then felt it was coming out of me. And the water, and I was in the water, and those ripples in the water as it comes out of me. And image 3 felt like I was in the water. As you can see from the image, a small me in the water. Then a big shift as ripples expanded, and in my system, they went beyond the page. It changed as I started to draw, and at the same time as I felt the shift within. I said, as I'm looking at that, I can feel it holding me. I had to have ripples coming out and a me on top. Those ripples needed to hold me. And I felt it speak to me. Trust the flow. It knows best. Rely on it. I could just be still and just be. Would you like to talk about the middle row,
Yep.
Nora, as those are yours?
Thanks, Jo. So my outcome was I want to get better at life. So it was a sense of not really being in life. I had no idea how to draw that. So in the first drawing, I drew me as a basic figure with the yellow circle around it. And I drew life as messy lines and added people and buildings. Then a cross, an X for not in life, and a question mark for the problem, which I didn't really understand. In the middle drawing, it became simplified, starting with me and the question mark. I then became very absorbed in drawing the squiggly blue and purple lines in that middle picture. No thinking about it at all. I then put the word life in red in the middle. Then I had a realization. In the third drawing, oh, it's a womb with a baby, and that's me. This was a profound realization that in some way I wasn't in life from the womb. This session shifted my issue of not being in life profoundly, and I've had further developments on this theme since. It seemed that this unconscious information emerged from the drawing process itself. So now it's time to play on Canva. Over to Paul for the next activity.
Okay, so we're going to invite you into a group activity as a way of trying out Canva, which is the tool we're using. Canva is an online design tool, but it's got everything we need for messy drawing. And the advantage is for the use we put it to, or you could put it to, it's completely free, and you don't even need an account to get into it. So nice and easy. But let me just take you through a couple of things you might need to do. First, join Canva. So we'll give you the link in a moment. And when you go to the link, you might see a screen like this, which is going into Canva. And there's a few things to get rid of. So there's 3 things to tap and then get 1 more to get some tools. So the things to get rid of is there's a X up here in the top right. And that will close this privacy policy window. There is an X here where it says start with a template. You can just get rid of that thing that covers up the middle of the screen. And down the bottom, there are the ubiquitous cookies for any websites that you go to. And you can accept all cookies, or if you want to, reject all cookies. So that will kind of clear your screen up, so you're ready to go. And then to actually get going with drawing, over on the left-hand side, there is a little button with a pencil thing that says tools. So those are the 4 things. When you go to the link, head for the X's, accept or reject the cookies, go to the pencil so you can start drawing. So let's have a little look at those tools. So when you click on those tools on the left-hand side over there, you get these two vertical bars that pop up. And these have ways you can make marks on the white space to the right. The one we suggest, pretty much the thing to use for this is the thing that looks like a pencil. So make sure that's clicked on. That opens up the second bar where there's a few different things you can kind of draw or erase with. And we suggest you use the marker, which is the second one down. So if you tap on it, so it sticks out. You tap on it again, it disappears and you won't draw. If you tap on that, it'll stick out. And then you can go over to the white space and make your marks. And we're going to just all try that out in a moment. The other things to notice, there's an eraser, this pink thing. It's not entirely obvious, but if you make a mark a bit later on and you want to get rid of it, there's an eraser. And if you want to change color, that red circle, if you click on that, you'll get a palette of some different colors you can choose from. That's pretty much all you need to know. So what we're going to do is give everyone a chance just to try that bit out. Roy, what would you like to ask?
Yeah, is that a collaborative drawing? So we all share the same.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for asking. We'll all be, if for this exercise, it's all the same design, you'll be making marks all together. So the invitation here is just to make a little drawing or a sketch of how you're feeling right now. And we'll do that together, just get a sense of the room. That's the idea of this, is so we've got everyone happily using this for when we go and do a bit more practice in a minute. Right, so you can possibly already see with a bit more structure, you can turn this very easily into group facilitation variations on what we're going to do today. We're just going to take a moment and do a quick, how is that for you? How's using the tool? How's kind of just doing a little bit of expression of how you are right now as an image? If you'd like to maybe put something in the chat, just get a sense from some people of how that was. That would be great. So Emily said that it was fun, low demand, and expressive in a different way to words. Irene said it felt collaborative, part of a group. Loved how messy it was. Yeah, enjoyable from Kathy, like being a kid again from Sally. Surprisingly colourful from Stefan. Yes, you all found the colour tool, which is excellent. Fun to see everyone scribbling and that people can use Canva quickly from Nora. Melanie loves the messiness. Maria, inspiring, funny, astonishingly easy and playful. Wendy got drawn in, it's hard to stop and makes her smile. Neil says it's very easy to use, easily accessible. Avoid the delete button. Excellent. We're a very, very playful and explorative bunch here. So I imagine all the other buttons get very interesting. There's loads in Canva you can play with. Kathy said such a nice introduction, made it easy to use. Oh, and yeah, Emily, maybe the delete button is part of the emergent process. Absolutely. Good. Well, we like synchronicities and taking on the what happens in the moment round here. So all good. Fantastic. So thank you for playing and joining in with that. So we've now got there's another bit of technology where we're going to get you Canva documents so that you can actually do some messy drawing together, but we'll handle that in a moment. So before we do that, we are going to show you a demo of doing messy drawing as a one-to-one kind of symbolic modeling style coaching, but using the visuals as we go. So what we've done with this, Nora and Jane did a practice session with this in mind that we recorded. And what we've done, because that session was about 20 minutes long, because we thought we could do a live demo, but it would take quite a lot of time. So the demo is about 20 minutes long, and then we've edited it to speed up all the drawing and to take out gaps between the questions and the answers. And so it's about a slightly over 6-minute video, and you'll get a sense of like a complete process in 6 minutes, which is quite cool to see. But just so you know, we've done that editing because it's a lot pacier than a session might be. I mean, if you're a pacey person, maybe it is that speed, but Jane and Nora are both very embodied, so things tend to have lots of space and time in them. So that's what we're going to show you now. And then the activity afterwards is basically to go and have a go yourself with this. And we'll give you some instructions for that afterwards. So.
And what would you like to have?
So I'd like to come from a place of love with a soft heart, even when things irritate.
So you'd like to come from a soft heart, even when things irritate.
Yeah.
And would you like to put that on the page? And would you like to tell me about your drawing?
So I think that's my soft heart that's open, but still in its boundaries. And that's my irritation and the people when I'm getting irritated. And it just feels like somehow I want to disperse that irritation or lessen it so that it's more the open heart and that soft heart and that coming from a place of love that I want.
And is there anything else about soft heart that still needs boundaries?
Yeah.
When you're choosing another page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This feels really important. It really feels like that heart, it's not going to be big enough for the page. That heart needs to be massive. So you've got all the softness here. So I don't need to draw all of that now. It just feels like that heart has to be absolutely massive in order to manage that irritation. Because it feels like when you've got the big, massive heart, then somehow it diffuses that irritation. So then it's like that irritation starts breaking up. So it's not just one big irritation that suddenly you're just like, it's that big heart somehow changes that irritation.
Anything else about that breaking up? That heart changes the irritation.
So what comes from the heart is greater than the irritation. So if I can find a way of being in that open heart all the time, then it feels like the irritation will then just melt away. I want to say like snow, like if you had the snow coming down and then it lands on the ground, but then it goes into water and just flows away. That's what it feels like. It just feels like that irritation would just disappear. I was just thinking that maybe this is me and here's my heart. I know that I've got my grounding is here in me. So if my heart is attached to the grounding in me and I don't lose sight of that, then it's much easier to come from that open heart.
So that's your grounding there, the black. And if the heart is attached to that grounding in you,
yeah,
and you don't lose sight of.
Because that's how often I see my grounding, like roots of a tree, my centre. So if I've got that and then my heart's attached, then that irritation here has more chance of melting away before I get that irritated at whoever.
So the grounding, like roots of a tree, and your centre, that's attached to the heart. Then the irritation has more chance of melting away before you get that irritated with whoever. Is there anything else that needs to be on the drawing, on the page?
So yeah, I was thinking that actually my heart in this, so if I draw the heart the other way and the people are here, it's almost like I can just be open.
Really?
Because that irritation that was here is kind of just diffused and kind of disappearing. And so the open heart reaches, that love reaches whoever, no matter what. Staying grounded here and rooted, then I can keep that heart open.
And is there anything else about the open heart and the diffusing of the irritation?
So I think here in my heart, and in my center, by my core here, there's a breath, and that's giving the irritation the chance to melt away. Because as I take the breath and keep my open, it's giving space to allow that irritation to just melt away so that my open heart reaches whoever. And I was just thinking, with all of that, it feels like that heart that's open, you've almost got then the people are kind of here, like they've moved, because you're almost wrapping your heart and that love and that softness around them. So you're still kind of giving out, but they can be closer.
Is there anything else that needs to be on the page or any of the pages before we stop?
I don't think so, but I think what I'd like to just do is draw my heart that way. And put those people there.
Yeah. 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 Your heart that way, including the people there. And the good thing about Canva is now you can save this and have the pages and have the images from the session.
Thank you.
Take as much time you need after this to explore or be with the heart, the diffusing and melting, the people there, the center, the breath, grounding, the roots, and wanting an open, soft heart, even when you're irritating.
So there we are. Lovely example from Jane and Nora of how you can use the visuals, and it's really obvious to see the kind of changes that were happening there as well.
So some things that have been exciting and meaningful for us. There's a double psychoactivity because you're seeing it on the page as well as feeling it inside of you. We love that you have pages that show the process, so it's happening in front of you in real time. Profound insights can emerge from drawing without any thinking about what's being drawn, so the process can seem to happen by itself. It promotes emergence. You don't have to create a masterpiece. The facilitator can see what is important. Messy drawing can bring out a childlike joy.
So thanks for that. So you've seen Jane and Nora getting started with messy drawing, and now you have the chance to do the same. And this activity means that you can experience messy drawing both as a facilitator and as a client. Soon you'll be allocated to a breakout room by the lovely Paul. It's quite complex technically, so I want to ask for your help. If you don't want to be a facilitator or client, then please put an X or some mark in the chat now, and we'll make sure that you're allocated as an observer. And while Paul is doing all the background stuff, I'll explain what's going to happen next. So you will be allocated to a breakout room, and a document has been created a Canva document has been created for your specific breakout room to help to get you started. And it's really important that you're on the correct Canva document to avoid any confusion. First, a link will appear in the chat when Paul's done all the background stuff. That opens a Google document, which will look something like this. Okay, so obviously Paul's creating this at the moment. So here you can see my name is on there. So first find your name. There'll be a long list and your breakout room number. So I'm in room 1. Then you go to the part underneath. So I'm going to click on room 1. So you need to click on room 1 and then click again. And then this will come up with a document. And this is your Canva document. Now, first check, see this yellow post-it up here, that this is the right one for your breakout room. And then if it is right, then you're ready to go. Just decide who is going to be the facilitator first. Now, as a facilitator, you can use any clean language question. If you're new to Canva or want some suggestions, there are some on the green post-it that you can see on the first sheet of the Canva document. And the suggested first starting question is, and what would you like to have happen? Like Nora and Jane on the demo. So we have allocated 30 minutes with a 5-minute sort of buffer in there. So watch out for a Zoom message halfway through so you can swap over. And if you scroll down in Canva, you can see a second page. And obviously, if you create other pages, this is for time when you swap over. And then you'll have a 1-minute alert at the end. And so please finish your conversation and thank everybody for coming before coming back into the room for a debrief. After the session, you will be able to come back to your drawing by using the same link. So if you want to continue your exploration later, you won't lose what you drew today. It is a lot, I realise, but we'll do a reminder of this before you get started with messy drawing. So if you need help, then me and Paul are here. So if you find you can't join the breakout room or find yourself alone there after a minute or so, then just come back to this main room. If you have a problem in the breakout room, then click ask for help. Just looking for where the ask for help is. Yeah, there should be an ask for help along the bottom of the screen on Zoom. And this should be where you find all the other Zoom functions. And then either me or Paul will come into your breakout room. If we don't come immediately, please be patient. We may be dealing with others and we'll try to get to you as soon as possible. So, and a quick reminder again, click the link in the chat that Paul will be putting in. This opens a Google document. Find your breakout room number. Click on that room number in the document. Click on the URL that opens and then check that the document opens is for your breakout room, and then off you go. And any problems, either return to this main room or click ask for help on Zoom.
Okay, off we go.
Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see you. Hopefully you found that to be invigorating, lively, playful. You're curious. And we're going to be doing a quick debrief now, and then it'll be over to Paul for next steps. So I am curious. I wonder what worked for you in this session. What are your observations? Anything that you learnt during the process? Something maybe that could be better in it, and maybe even some applications as well as to how you think that messy drawing might be something you could apply in your own practice or in other places. There are a lot of us on here, so it'll be really helpful if you can either use the chat to do that if you prefer, or you can speak to the group. If you do want to speak to the group, can you indicate somehow, either raising your hand, or if you are able to use the reactions button that will raise your hand and then put you to the front, it will be obvious to see you. So who's going to be really brave and go first?
Emily.
Feeling brave.
Emily.
So in terms of applications, I'm kind of already doing this with some of my clients. So I am a neurodiversity coach, and I often do get people to draw because lots of people that I work with, like myself, are quite visual thinkers. So I can immediately see how this is valuable in terms of the work that I'm doing. I've just found that really useful for myself as well, because sometimes it's hard to put things into words, but when you're seeing your own stuff, for me, that makes it so much more clear. So I really enjoyed that process, because it did make it fun, and it made it a bit more lighthearted than sort of just simply being in my head with it, which is what I tend to do quite a lot of the time. So having it out, being able to see it in that expressive form, I couldn't connect to it in a different way, and I thought it was super fun.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Emily.
I'll just say from the chat, we've got Kathy saying mine was magical. So happy to be with Jane, and the process was so delightful. And Nora said it was very lovely to see something potential emerging on the page. Peter, if you want to say anything more about that to the group, it's always lovely to hear about people's experiences. Or anyone else?
Yes.
Ratha, yeah?
Yes, I was surprised to discover the second part. There was something that was kind of expected at the beginning, but then it was totally surprised at the result of, and I mean, what happens next was something that I did not expect it at all. And so it was very, very joyful and interesting, because I discovered something with that. I use also drawing because it helps to leave a bit the mental out and to be more in the creativity. Yes, intuition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's perfect. I think what we get a lot in Clean is when you get things somehow more tangible, and drawing just does that almost effortlessly. Something where, and that's what we do in Metaphor, is get things, there's a lake or a tree, it's a more tangible thing that has a form and a location. And the drawing seems to do that. So it's a wonderful description.
Lena?
Yeah, I've got more of a reflections and questions. Like when we don't have a drawing, or when we're in the same room, we sort of tend to notice the gestures and everything, and point to where they are pointing. Would you also point at the drawing? Instead.
So actually,
as a facilitator, would you point in the drawing to that whatever they've drawn, instead of pointing to where they've shown, point to where they have made a drawing?
Yeah, I can answer that one. If you're in a room, there's a whole process called map into space that you may or may not know.
No,
But
I'm talking about this specific exercise that we did.
this specific one. Cheers,
And
Nora.
if I'd like to instead
You
of
want to take that?
instead of pointing to where they're pointing to somewhere in the drawing, is that something? I see Wendy say.
Yes.
Well, I was going to
Yeah.
say, well, as Nora and Jane have probably done the most practice on this, so I'm just going to suggest Nora takes the.
Yes, I think it wasn't working in our, because I was with Lena in the room, and I think it wasn't working, but we were exploring that on Canva, as the person is drawing, you can see their name as they draw, and then they could see, if I'm facilitating, they'd be able to see my name. So we were exploring how we might move that cursor just near to something on the drawing and ask about it, which is particularly useful if somebody's drawn something but they haven't said what it is. So you don't want to, as clean language, you don't want to add words in that they haven't said, but you want to say, oh, what's that? Or is there anything else about that? So, but it's something we're currently exploring. I think we need to maybe do a bit more on that. Does that answer your question, Lena?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the other one was that we explored was that the difference between something that is happening in the body and something happening on the Canva.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes it seemed I had something where I'd drawn some sort of like flow lines, and it was a bit like sea and stuff, wasn't it? And it was both. At one point I spoke about, oh, that's in me, and it's like walking into the sea was my realization, wasn't it? I could do that. But then sometimes I was referring to the drawing. So I think there's a further question here of how best to do that. If somebody's in their body, you would naturally stay with their body and ask them about that, rather than the drawing. But it's something that's come up for me and Jane when we've done it, isn't it? Like, where do you place the attention? You don't want to require somebody to, you don't want to sort of have that direction to put something on the page. And sometimes it happens naturally. I think there was a bit of that was me, that it happened naturally. I then added to the drawing and then went back to the body. But, yeah.
I want to add just one sentence about the pointing to what the person's drawing if you're in the room. I think the thing about it is don't touch their picture, so only be pointing, and make your hand kind of gentle, kind of anything else about that, rather than getting your pen and making stabbing motions at their picture, which happened in some work that I was doing with a group some time ago. So it's all about, don't interfere with their stuff, don't touch it. But with messy drawing, it absolutely happens that you need to be able to find some way to get them to give you some words about something. And pointing with a cursor or with a gentle hand, if you're in the room, seems to be as good as it gets, and fine.
So thank you for that. So Melanie, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so I think two things. I'm going to say one first because it sort of leads on to what you were talking about there, was that when Ratha said something about her drawing, she said, oh, and that is, and she was pointing at something, but she was using her cursor. Now, when you're clicked onto something, you can see the person's name, but you can't see where their cursor is. So I think that's just an interesting point to see if we can work through, because I wasn't sure then whether to sort of ask about where her cursor was. But I also just noticed, just from my own point of view, was that how much change happened just because I was drawing. And I think that was like, sometimes change can be organic or you can sort of move it forward, but it somehow sort of magically happened within just doing the drawing itself. And I think that was evident both ways round. So I think it was really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Christiane. Oh,
Okay. It was a bit of a challenge for me because I'm used to draw on a paper and to see the coach, the other person at the same time. I only have one screen, so I was seeing only my drawings. So, and it was quite a little bit of a challenge for me using that type of drawing at the moment. So it feels, and I felt Emily had much fluidity in drawings and choosing the colors and all that. So for me, trying to pick the color, the right pen, and this and that was breaking my train of thought. Instead of using a paper as I'm used to do, and as I'm used to do with clients as well. So for me, it was a bit of challenge. So my question is, when you have a new client and the client is not used to work like that, I believe it needs a little bit of adaptation before being a little bit more fluid and not having to deal with, okay, where am I with my thoughts? Because I feel that when I use a paper, like a regular paper, my thoughts are a lot more fluid than when I'm on the screen. But I guess it's only a matter of habits and new habits. So that was my experience. But now.
Thank you. Thank you,
I
Christian.
I'll just make an observation. In Embodied Clean, we have a whole thing about encouraging people to set things up how they'd like them to be at the start of sessions. And I think that can be extended here. So it isn't like dive straight in. It's like, well, are you, first of all, is the client interested in this? Then if they are, should we just play with like the tools and technology, and then how would they like it to be? How do they want it to be in the session? How do they want it set up? So there's almost just getting someone engaged in their process before you then go and do it. So some techniques like that, I think, would then help the client to decide, yes, this isn't for me, or yes, no, I really like it, I can jump straight in, or somewhere in the middle. But it's kind of letting the client lead kind of what they want to do in the session, I think we found that works really well for other things we do as well. So I think that applies here.
But I was able to experiment a little bit on both sides, but because for Emily, it was very easy to draw and all that and very fluid. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's, it depends of with whom you are and to be able to propose to use whatever they are comfortable with.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got two more people with raised hands. Are you gonna, is that gonna be okay, Paul?
That's fine, yeah. The next steps is quite short.
Fantastic. So Neil, you're next.
Thank you. So I had a general question about what the conditions were to lead into drawing generally. And well, let's start with that one first. When do you notice that you invite a client to draw or people to draw if you're in a group situation?
Who would like to take this?
I could say a little. I think a lot of this is, first of all, it can start even before a client even finds you. So if you love this way of working and it's part of kind of what you offer as a coach or therapist or a group facilitator, then you put it up front in, talking about what you do, and the people who like drawing will find you. So that's the first piece of this. So then they want it anyway. If you're kind of, this is one of the tools in my toolkit kind of thing, a bit like we were just saying, I think it's perhaps possibly even in your agreements document or something, say, well, we could do this. When you're first talking, someone say, okay, we're going to begin coaching or therapy, whatever it is, together. Some of the options for working together are this or this or this. What are you interested in? So again, it's trying to get client to lead things. They say, I don't know, or would you like to try it? Why don't we do 5 minutes on something, you know, not the deepest work you're ever doing, see if you like it or not. So I think the more you can say what you offer, help the clients have some choice over it, then they'll select, and you'll get the people who love it, and then that's great because they love it, and then the people who don't, you're not forcing it on them.
Yeah, I think well, I was working with Sally, and she said something really lovely. When people can't find the words, a drawing can become a really important or really useful tool. I just wondered if anybody else had any experience of when drawing becomes a tool that is I use drawing all the time with clients, but not necessarily during a session. It's sometimes as a setup for a session, sometimes as a bit of work after a session, as a development task. And I really like the idea of an in-moment thing happening. I just wondered if others had spotted signals or some coding that would help that lead into doing a drawing. And that, I guess then the second question is what kind of setup you do, linguistic setup you do to set up the conditions to be able to draw.
Also, one thing, I reckon, if you give people the invitation to bring a drawing, the ones that really like drawing will do it.
Absolutely.
And that's the clue.
Yeah,
and the ones who don't won't. That's one. But as you
Yeah.
said to everyone, has anyone else here who's worked with drawings got any observations on that?
Hans Peter has raised his hand.
Yeah, I use the method without any clean, especially in IT environments where people are talking very metaphorical to each other, because you can't touch anything. The software needs to work, and there's a problem, whatever. Every word is a kind of metaphor. And I start to introduce them to draw the talk. So I call that method draw the talk. And you asked about when someone introduces to draw it. I do it when they start to use the fingers a lot while explaining. So I say, okay, just take the pen and draw it, what you're talking. And so they start to scribble around. And if another one talks with the fingers, I just give him the pen again and say, okay, draw it in this picture. And if it's too messy, then I say, okay, take a new one. And if we have an update, transformation, an addition, which a clearness about something, I say, okay, draw an update. So you have a kind of documentation about the process while they're talking, and it's much more faster. The other side is that I'm always thinking in constructivism. So if you make a point to somewhere and a circle around, and you say that's a chair, everybody would notice that this is a chair. So we can talk about circles, and every circle in that conversation is a chair. So that makes conversation much faster. So I started to train that method and to give that into big organizations like Mercedes or Siemens and so on, and to make the conversation faster. I didn't introduce them into clean language at the same point, because that was already a big step to talk differently with different kind of methods. But I prepared some parts to start a book, but my problem is that I start every 4 weeks a new book, so I have a lot of stuff like that.
Thank you, Hans Peter. Did you want to say something, Wendy?
Really quick. I think one signal that one might turn to messy drawing is when you've got a client who talks and talks and talks. I think messy drawing gives you more potential to easily interrupt them and you know, wait for them to take a breath and say, and would you like to put that on the page? Or
You got this idea because I talked so much in this last seconds.
That's really useful, Wendy. Thank you, and Hans. And if anybody knows any other signals or codes that you would introduce the idea of drawing, I'd love to hear more. Pop them in the chat or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. And oh, Matt, you put your hand down. You've been so patient there as well, waiting all that time.
I think most of my points have been summarized already, so I'll let it stand there.
Okay, thank you. So Paul, over to you now for next steps.
Yep. So just, this is quite brief. So the first thing to mention is, which I think Irene mentioned earlier, so you can re-access your drawings after the session if you'd like to with the room link that you had. So, and if you've got any questions once we disband, I think we'll be in the room for a few minutes, so you can just check you got the right link or whatever. We won't do anything with those, but obviously you can go and screenshot them or download them or something if you want to as well. We would like to invite you to just have a think about what you'd like to have happen next, and maybe put that in the chat. But I'm going to mention, just while you're doing that, and the intention here is so the group of people who have been exploring messy drawing are planning to do a follow-up session, which is on Zoom. I'll put a link so you can say if you're interested, and we'll let you know when it is and what it's about. But part of what we'd like to have happen next is that will let the group know what people would like to do, and that will give us some inspiration for what kind of sessions people are interested in. And there we go. So if you'd like to drop anything in the chat, I will put our link if I can get it.
I'm just having a thought. I'm just going to share it out loud. It would be really cool if we were practicing this more often, to have like a bit like what we had at the beginning, where there was like a little case study and a little kind of recording that was sped up, you know, to have like little mini case studies, obviously with the client's consent, so that we could build a body of examples of how, a bit like what Neil's questions get into, like what lets you know what's happening just before you ask or invite somebody to draw something. That might be, as a clean collective, a really interesting bank to have.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. I mean, within the group, we've been thinking about what tools might you need as a facilitator to get your client started. So things like we did at the beginning, like here's an introduction to the basics of Canva. So you can just watch a little video beforehand, or you've got a little script that you know how to run through with a client if they don't know. And exactly like you say, if there's, I think we'll do something with Nora and Jane's demo that you saw earlier. But as we say, if we can collect up some others, it's great, because then it. One of the things Wendy and I have been working on a lot over the last few years is what's the developmental model for clients, for example, because it isn't everyone does metaphor very naturally. It's like embodiment. Some people go body, and some people are off feeling their body. Metaphors, some people produce wonderful metaphors and stay with them. Other people, it's like, this is really new and different. There's a developmental process in a number of different ways, and I think this is another example of that. So kind of giving facilitators, like we were being asked earlier, like what kind of signals, how would you know the client's interested, and then what skills they develop as part of it. But one really easy way is to show them, and they go, oh, it could be like that. And suddenly, you know, 5 minutes later, someone's doing something they didn't know was possible because they've seen it. So I think what you said, Emily, is perfect. And fantastic. So I've dropped other comments, very welcome. I've dropped a link in the chat to register your interest. It's tied into our mailing list, but we basically send out a mail, I know, a couple of times a year, because we're very bad at that, so you won't get spammed. But if you register on that link, we'll know you wanted messy drawing in particular, and then we're going to we'll send out a message to everyone and organize something. Good. So yeah, other than that, Wendy, you can say something?
If anyone has any thoughts about good possible applications for Macy drawing, I think that's another thing that would be useful to kind of get a bank of ideas together for lousy sentence. But you can do an awful lot more with Macy drawing than just facilitate one individual at that end of a Zoom call. And so, yeah, if anyone had any thoughts and was minded to put them in the chat or say them out loud, that would be interesting, because that's going to be part of what we want to put more attention on, is how one can use it for different purposes in different contexts.
I appreciated Jane's the video you did. It was very powerful, the one that you showed us, and I think that would be a great hook for people to, if Jane's willing, to do that. And you could actually take any of our finished drawings and have us do a little commentary beside it, without having to slow it down. You could actually just take the finished drawing and have the person kind of walk you through it, and it would be pretty powerful.
Nice point. And an awful lot quicker than doing the process that was needed with Nora facilitating Jane, and Paul taking all the pauses and gaps and so on out.
Good. Okay. If there's any other comments, we'll be around for a little bit in the room. As with Wendy, we run the Clean Change community. I must say we're super excited that we've got people developing things that are new in Clean and putting conference sessions together, and so we're kind of here supporting. But Jane and Nora and Irene in particular have worked so hard on these videos and this session, and I think they're amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you to them from us who've been supporting them. And yes, but any other comments, go ahead. Otherwise, probably time for tea or coffee or another beverage of your choice.
Thank you for all your participation. Been brilliant.
Yes, great session. Thank you all. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's really interesting.
Thank you. Thanks for the tech skills as well. It made it really good too. Very smooth. Very smooth.
Yeah, you guys juggled a lot. That's very good.
Thanks everyone. It's been really enjoyable.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. This was really just so powerful. Jane was such a good facilitator. And Paul, your technical abilities are essential with this. I've tried to do this with Jotboard and some other things, and it's hard. It's really hard. I can see through the technical expertise you bring, and it's very, very helpful. You've really launched us from a higher place because of that. Thank you.